Hey everyone, back again. Welcome back to yet again another video review. This time, everyone, we are finally going to take a look at the most controversial finale to a series. Well, I would say debated. Anyway, so we are looking at the much anticipated series finale, official series finale of Transformers EarthSpark. Here is, of course, the two-parter with Hometown Heroes and Legacy of Hope. So we'll start with Hometown Heroes. Basically, alright, it starts up pretty good. Robbie and Mo pretty much use their prime abilities to, back to school, all that sort of stuff. But then, it's basically that Robbie, he meets up with who we find out is eventually, this is the daughter of Agent Croft. Agent Croft, of course, she died earlier in the series thanks to Mandroid. Of course, both she and her, and her little friend there, I believe their designs are based off of the '07 film, particularly, what was their name? Anthony Anderson's character, and I think, I forget the name of the other actress in that, but you know who I mean. I think they're based off those two minor characters in the '07 film. Essentially, they are scanned outright by Mandroid, who inadvertently frees himself and frees Starscream, controlling his body, attaching his remains to his chest, which I had assumed he died at the end of season 2. Or one of the earlier seasons. You have to go back and, fact check all that shit. But, look. Crazy, I know. But basically, because of Mandroid's decease, and his little, thing, of course, part of the lie was, let's open the space bridge and your mom comes home. Well, that's not what really happened. But inadvertently, we're introduced to Hot Rod. And Hot Rod, okay. I believe that they based Hot Rod's character, losing my train of thought here. Hot Rod, I think his character and tone of personality, I think they really heavily based off his Energon self. Very robust, leader and such, and really gruff. I really think. But essentially, Hot Rod pretty much, he assists the Autobots and the Meltos defeating Mandroid once for all. Megatron delivers the final blow, ripping Mandroid completely from Starscream. And they're both sent back into the Autobot prison. But Hot Rod pulls a new reverse card and pretty much severs the Emberstone powers off of Robbie and Mo using a little spear device. And so the Emberstone is all Hot Rod's, and he buggers off back to Cybertron, causing Robbie and Mo to follow him. Twitch, throughout the episode, feels she really is hard on herself. She is absolutely hard on herself because she feels that, that she feels left out, doesn't want to be, she feels that she's not part of the team because, she just basically feels left out. And because, now Thrash, Nightshade, even Hashtag are pretty, they understand. Completely. They completely do. But by the end of the first part, by the end of Hometown Heroes, all is well with, the daughter of, even Agent Croft himself, Agent Schlo, actually, who is coincidentally was married to Agent Croft, he understands, takes full responsibility, all is well, and of course, as I mentioned, Hot Rod steals, severs the Emberstone powers off of Robbie And Mo buggers up back to Cybertron, and and that's pretty much the end of the first part, because pretty much it's, prior to that, Optimus, Prowl, Alita, and I think Wheeljack and a few others, they all, follow Hot Rod, and then Hot Rod just, Anyway, so that's the end of Hometown Heroes. Legacy of Hope. Oh boy, here we go. So basically, here we are. It's all on Cybertron. All on Cybertron. It is crazy. So basically, we see, of course, we see the space bridge. We see, we do see Hot Rod, taking off with the Ember Stone and whatnot. Robbie and Mo are still fighting over their differences. That Robbie believes that the Ember Stone is but of course Mo, being the ever so caring sibling, tries to knock some sense into Robbie and such. So I mean, it's understandable. Now, inadvertently, of course, we are then revealed as to, actually, before that, we see that Thrash and the others, even Twitch, Megatron comes along, same with, the Melto family. Basically, they find the old Autobot hiding base, the old Autobot base, the hideout that Bumblebee mentions, and they and of course, Twitch and Thrash, they pretty much, they argue over command and figure, how about we scan and find out what's happening? And no, let's go and see those two bloody Decepticon symbols on the monitor. Because of Thrash's, because of his, his smug, how should I say this? Because of Thrash's smug, coherent arrogance, the Sparkless are awoken. Hooray! The Sparkless attack the base, and then Bumblebee has to hoard them out and close the door. Which is something. Now, the ultimate reveal. It is revealed. None other. Liege Maximo. I need to talk about Liege Maximo for a second. Liege Maximo, I always keep forgetting about him. Of course, for those who don't know who Liege Maximo is, he is one of the original 13 Primes. He is the Prime of Lies. Essentially, he's basically on a higher level than Megatronus, in a sense. Because, yes, Megatronus being the fallen, betraying everyone, we all know that. But Liege Maximo, goodness gracious, Liege Maximo, I don't know how many times I'm going to say Liege Maximo. He was imposing, deadly, and very, pretty much had the blood of a Decepticon in his body. So pretty much, it is revealed that Liege Maximo was imprisoned a long time ago by the other by the other Primes and Optimus. Sorry. We find out over the years that Liege Maximo freed himself and one by one killed all the remaining Primes, but taking their artifacts as personal trophies, so that way he can use the artifacts as personal power to basically have all the Energon for himself. He tries to steal the Matrix of Leadership from Optimus, but thanks to Mirage, who Mirage inadvertently was once serving Liege Maximo, actually, and after some convincing from Megatron and many others, Mirage understands. I found it hilarious. Mirage was literally talking to himself throughout the entire fucking thing. It was wow. Crazy. So, Mirage, he frees Optimus and several of the others. Prowl, unfortunately, gets left behind because Liege Maximo, upgrade, pretty much puts more barriers around the security cell. Unfortunately, during the fight, of course, we find out that, we find out, a little bit more about Legion Maxwell's backstory, yada, 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 all that. But they escape. But, not before finding out that, oh no, all the energon's been drained. But they find an energon refinery thanks to Mirage. They go to the refinery, but they're ambushed by Scorponok. They hold off Scorponok temporarily, and they escape with what energon they can. Because thanks to Nightshade and some assistance from Wheeljack, they were able to, get the energon factory back online. So that was pretty something. Now, what was it? Now, throughout all this, we see that Hot Rod doesn't really partake in the battles. Even Liege Maximo noticed this. But, of course, Hot Rod, understanding the words from Robbie and Mo, like, okay, why would, how could you, and all, and you could change all that. So, but we're gonna get to it. We're gonna get to it. However, we do see, like, once the Emberstone is actually, like, presented to Liege Maximo, we see more of the artifacts. Like, we see the Enigma combination and the Emberstone being merged by Liege Maximo. And all these, like, large tendrils are spawning out of Cybertron and draining all the other planets of their energon. It's fucking crazy, I know. We also see the Star Saber being used in battle. The one that Prime had. And we also see, what was it? Now we do see when Robbie tries to reclaim the Emberstone, just so he can get his powers back, we see that Liege Maximo, like, after, combining the Emberstone and Enigma combination, he pretty much, like, uses another Prime artifact. I can't remember it was a staff. I think it was Alchemist's, or it was, or Onyx's staff. I can't remember. But using the staff, Liege Maximo was able to, use the staff, and they locate the temporary base. Now this is where Twitch comes into play here. Even though the other Terrans and everyone managed to get back to the base safely, Twitch is left alone in the sandstorm. But then after being knocked unconscious, like, we see Quintus appear in a vision and basically giving a pep talk of all pep talks of reassurance and, knowing what to follow and such. This is where I think this was really cool. So what happens is this. Even though, the Decepticons, even Hot Rod, arrive, the base is empty. Optimus, is presented to Liege Maximo again. Liege Maximo pretty much says, "Are you gonna give the Matrix, or I'm gonna have to kill you for it?" Of course, Optimus complies, opens his chest, but the Matrix is gone. Yes, it turns out Optimus gave the Matrix to Twitch, and Twitch pretty much escaped with it. And of course, nice little callback to the '86 film, like the chain and the Matrix. Kind of like how Galvatron in the '86 film had that. Which is interesting. Now, what's it? Oh yeah, so, of course, and I know I might be missing some internal parts here, but this is like the gist of it. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm going to talk about anyone's reaction to this. Because I am on the same page with everyone on this. I want to be clear. Hey, I'm in no. I'll get to it once we finish reviewing it. Because there were some things that were good, and some things that could have been, and something I want to talk about. But it's all good. It's all good. Anyway. But where was I? Oh, yes. So Twitch escapes with the Matrix and the others. Of course, during the as a result of the deceit, Legion Maximo captures everyone again. Captures the Malto family. And of course, this is where Hot Rod realizes, this is bad. And then Legion Maximo, calls him a traitor and beats up Optimus and Hot Rod to a pulp. So of course, this work gets interesting because thanks to the Matrix, Twitch is able to locate them. But also, within Legion Maximo's little ship base, we see the EarthSpark. And the EarthSpark is being interrupted by one of Legion Maximo's little staff weapons. Of course, Twitch, she tries to rip the thing off, but of course, it doesn't work and she dies. Okay, no, she doesn't die, but you know what I mean. So, Robbie himself actually rips out the staff, and the EarthSpark is restored. And thanks to the EarthSpark, everyone and Cybertron is technically healed. It was then actually at this point, Shockwave, of course, he pretty much calls out Legion Maximo saying, "Oh, you lied to us. We thought the EarthSpark was destroyed." And then Shockwave blasts Legion Maximo out of the base, and the Decepticons just, they just leave. We don't see them again, they just leave. Well, almost everyone. Breakdown stays behind, but he plays a pivotal part in this. So, of course, Legion Maximo summons the remaining Sparkless. They fight the Sparkless off without no problem. Then, of course, Legion Maximo shows up, of course he's knocked over and such. Oh my god. The realistic, okay. the moment where Thrash is like, okay, we have a problem, and then Legion Maximo pretty much screams, "Give me the Matrix." Twitch turns around, Breakdown comes up, spawns out of nowhere, boing! And then Legion Maximo just I can't believe a Prime literally just got knocked over by a generic Cybertronian. It's pretty funny. Now, this is where the controversy comes into play. Not controversy, but it's... Alright, so basically then, of course, Legion Maximo spawns out the Blades of Time. Now, okay, what the fuck is the Blades of Time? The Blades of Time was actually Vector Prime's artifact. It wasn't a weapon, of course, but more of a Mandela or an hourglass and such. So basically, in EarthSpark, the Blades of Time pretty much rewinds the personality of anyone back many, many years. Bumblebee takes the hit, and of course he's reverted back to his Cybertronian form. But of course, he still thinks of, Breakdown as an enemy sort of thing. Now, of course, Maximo fights Optimus and Megatron. The Blades of Time are still boomeranging around over the battlefield. What the fuck? I'm going to talk more about the Blades of Time as we go on. But basically, Maximo knocks over Optimus. Unfortunately, the Blades of Time penetrate Megatron. I'm sorry if I said that, but Megatron gets hit by the Blades of Time. But then Legion Maximo spawns out the Requiem Blaster, shoots him in the back, and he dies. Yeah, kills Megatron outright. This enrages Optimus, and of course the blast rips out one of Optimus's arms. This is where the Terrans step in. And the Terrans absolutely give it to Legion Maximo. They absolutely fire on him. And of course, ultimately, Optimus, ensures that his end is the beginning and such. But Twitch, Twitch, Robimo use Twitch's like sword blades, and they absolutely cleave off Maximus's horns, and that ultimately kills Liege Maximo. Like he basically it was from a '90s film. There was a death similar to that, where the villain's body kind of imploded and such. Anyway, Maximo gets killed. Liege Maximo gets killed. Cybertron and the universe is restored, and the Ember Stone and the Matrix are okay, but the Enigma of Combination, the Requiem Blaster, the Blades of Time, and the staff weapon we don't see. I believe that they were destroyed after Maximo was pretty much terminated. But the Matrix is reunited with Optimus. They use the EarthSpark to pretty much restore Optimus's arm and try to revive Megatron. They have a funeral, of course, and of course, some of the Cybertronians, even some of the humans, decide to stay on Cybertron just to explore and such. But then Megatron awakens. And, of course, thanks to the Blades of Time, again, thanks to those blasted Blades of Time, Megatron is reverted back to his old evil self and escapes to the space bridge. And at the end, everyone goes to the space bridge, and that's it. That's the end of the episode. That's the end of the series. I don't know what to say. I'm not angry. Not surprised. Am I disappointed? A little bit. A little bit. Now, we all know that Vector Prime's true artifact, his true relic, was Rizzling, or his time sword. Basically, if you've watched Transformers Cybertron, you know that he used the sword to cut through, various parts of space and time, and that's how he kind of traveled, through, that's how he traveled, through the many dimensions and galaxies and shit. I understood why, because, Maximo, wielding two swords would have been overkill instead of just the Star Saber. Again, it would have been nice. It just would have been cool to see. Does the Blades of Time have been talked about in the Alliance continuity and such, but not really mentioned in physical media until now, of course. With Bumblebee, I understood. He took the hit for Breakdown, because if Breakdown were affected by the Blades of Time, he would have been all evil and such. But in Megatron, But, again, now, I will say this about Liege Maximo. He was imposing. He was, oh my God. He really, now, of course, at the time I was recording, of course, I've met some great friends over on Discord, and we talked a lot about Liege Maximo, him literally, basically his head being literally Prime Starscream on Prime Megatron's body with the... But honestly, it was really satisfying to see the way that, to see the Malto family destroy, the way that they took out Liege Maximo. God, so satisfying. He's the prime of lies. And honestly, that's the thing I liked about the series. It focused on Quintus and ended with Liege Maximo. I wouldn't surprise me to see in the next series, whether it's Cyberworld that's ongoing at the time of this recording, or a future series, that we see maybe one of the other primes being focused on, like Onyx. If we see a Beast Wars X series, or maybe even Alchemist. Now, yes, we did see Solus in the Prime Wars Machinima trilogy, but that, so we technically did see Solus and Megatronus. Megatronus we've seen a lot the last 15 years. And it's really cool that we got to see. Of course, we've seen Alpha Trion, too. I keep forgetting about Alpha Trion. Alpha Trion being in Transformers 1 and such. So, honestly, now, yes, I keep forgetting my Cronus, RD 2015. So, Alchemist, Onyx, even Prima, it'd be so cool to see. Really cool to see. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting Legion Maximus's arm was in Transformers Prime because, well, that was part of the plot. Which I thought was Solus's at the time. Weirdly, Legion Maximo never transformed in the finale. We never saw him truly, like, he didn't really transform. He didn't have a vehicle mode. So, and if he did, he'd reduce like a tank or a jet, I think. Now, yes, I know that, I believe it was the original Legion Maximo was a pretender, so basically that skull body sort of thing. I remember, reviewing the Siege Maximo figure, which Legion Maximo, but they didn't have the trademark at the time. So yeah. I forgot to mention, of course, Robbie Moe just, declined the Emberstone back because, what if so it's possible. If we see a follow-up series to EarthSpark, then maybe. Or maybe a fanfic. I don't know. But what I do know, what I truly do know, is that it was of a half glass. The finale was a bit of a half glass full, half glass empty kind of thing. A lot of shoulda, woulda, couldas. I advise you to check out my Blue Sky on Twitter because I did do like a what should have been, or actually I did a prediction. I predicted that in the finale, after Legion Maximo, this is my prediction here, so this is what I'm going to talk about here. In my finale prediction, I predicted that Twitch, who saved the day in season 1 and 2 and 3, would have been the one to sacrifice herself. The Blades of Time would have had nothing to do with it at all. Like all the relics would have been combined with Legion Maximo, like Matrix included and such. But Twitch's spark combined with the Emberstone would have been powerful enough to destroy Legion Maximo, and then Twitch would have just, that would have been, a heroic sacrifice. So, all in all, I just, wow. What a finale. I mean, now yes, I know like people like TJ Omega. I mean, look, check out Common and Cam's reaction to it. He was absolutely furious. He was so angry. TJ Omega was not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Evangelist or Vault Matrix, even Kal-El Prime would be, And imagine others, many in the fandom would be like, "Ay." But alas, and I know people are going to say the writers and such, because I didn't know this because after season 1 of EarthSpark that they fired them and then they replaced them with other writers, and I get it, but still. But I'm not rambling about this. All in all, honestly, the first, let's see, Hometown Heroes wasn't bad, and Legacy of Hope was, wow. I really liked Hot Rod's redemption arc. I mean, because I think he was put in, he was stuck between a wall and a hard place kind of thing. But Raj was funny and epic. So I really think they took some cues from, his Rise of the Beast sort self, because, holograms and all that stuff. But all in all, oh yeah, Scorponok wasn't power. An Auto Punch was something. So, all in all, wow. So, honestly, I'd recommend checking out this finale if you can. Won't be disappointed by it one bit. Looks pretty good and such, and pretty, wow, to say the least. So, anyways, guys, with that being said, that is my video review of the series finale, the official series finale of Transformers EarthSpark with Hometown Heroes and Legacy of Hope. Of course, it's going to be debated for a long, long time. The shoulda, coulda, wouldas and such. But anyways, I'll see you all very soon. I will be back as soon as possible with my next video. Yes, so take care, everyone. See you soon. Have a good day. And I shall catch you all later. Bye-bye.